5 minutes to go to the start of this penultimate stage of the 2016 Tour de Ski, and so much at stake with tomorrow the final stage. Really, and here's the Tour leader.
For stage 7, another mass start classic. You're ready to go. Should be strong. Should be good conditions.
Yeah, I look forward to do a better Classic 15 than I did in Oberstdorf. I want to defend my position now. It's all about defend for the bonus seconds and in the finish. So I will do nothing crazy tomorrow, and I will try to maintain in the pack and secure a good lead for the final stage.
And we know you're a great skier. You've already won the Tour before. How important was it to ski fast in the 10K after Oberstdorf, just for the mental knowledge that, yeah, you can do it?
I wouldn't say it meant all, but for sure I was... Your head's starting to do crazy shit after a race like in Oberstdorf, and I get so far behind, and nothing feels good. So today was a really important race. The 10K here was decisive for my mental mental state before the last couple of races.
Yeah, for sure. And you can't be as good as you are if you're not mentally tough. So we wish you well on the final 2 stages.
Thank you, man.
Well, a bit circumspect there, the Tour leader, and clearly there is a little anxiety in his head about these 2 final stages. Well, Sergei Ustugov of Russia, this progressive 23-year-old Russian, 3rd in the overall Tour rankings with 1:31 to find. Not impossible. And then there's Peder Northug, the mysterious, the difficult-to-gauge Northug. Yesterday, a complete mess. He actually lost and now finds himself 1:28 behind Jonsrud Sundby, who has everything in his favour. But again, this is the 8th stage. Last year it was 7 stages. It's just that extra amount of work. And remember, it's not only the work, it's the travelling that you have to factor in here, as you can see, on an afternoon where the temperature's just beginning to drop a little.
It is, David. Air temperature still quite warm, 3.6. We saw Peder Northug there stripping off his ski suit, taking his thermals off, so it's that warm. Now, interesting track today. 6 times around this 2.5-kilometre track. And look at the undulations. Who will this suit? Probably will suit Jonsrud Sundby, a little more so than in Oberstdorf, where he ended up 50 seconds behind. And 6 times around this journey, and a huge total climb of nearly 600 metres.
Well, on the 1st of January, we started out with 100 of the world's best male skiers. We're now down to 57 from 18 countries. As you see the start list here, it's a mass start, so it means the favourites are up in the front row. And just to give you an idea, to join in with Mike and myself, we've had a little sort of friendly wager between ourselves, and Mike reckons that his man Heikkinen from Finland is going to get the better of my man Colonia from Switzerland today, so we'll just have to see how those 2 men do. If you're interested in betting, Colonia's available at 8-1, Heikkinen at 100-1, but those odds seem ridiculous to me, and Mike will explain why, because Heikkinen actually not bad the other day.
He was very good. He finished 6th in Oberstdorf and only 4 seconds behind.
So there is the bookmakers' favourite for today's race at 3-1, Poltaranin of Kazakhstan to take on Ustugov, who lies 3rd in the Tour de Ski rankings for 2016, a growing force in this sport, and Martin Jonsrud Sundby, the defending Tour de Ski champion, a man who has a 1:28 advantage over his nearest rivals. And Peder Northug, can he turn around from the disappointment of yesterday when he was simply not at the races? Mike Dixon, together with myself, David Goldstrom, and Eurosport's Nordic team, sit back, relax, enjoy this as we hope and look forward to a cracking race. And it's 15,000 metres in Stride and Glide Classic under starters' orders, and away we go 6 times round the 2.5-kilometre loop here in Val di Fiemme in Trentino and at altitude.
It is, David, and look at the red suits up the front. There's 7 Norwegians ranked now on day 7 of the Tour de Ski, day 7 of racing, that is, and they really are at the sharp end. I was wondering, David, as well, you see Ustigov at the front at the moment. I think we might see Legkov and Belov and Veljian and Bersmietnik trying to work their way through quickly to give Ustigov some support and maybe try to influence these bonus seconds they can hoover up upon the way. And of course, at 3.5 kilometres and 8.5 kilometres there will be sprints. In fact, it's probably started already to try and gain those 15 seconds for first, 12 for second, 10 for third, all the way down to the top 10.
Can't rule out also Finn Hågen Krogh, who's in 4th place in the Tour de Ski rankings and 3rd in the overall World Cup. He's some 2 minutes and 7 seconds down. But if, as happened in Oberstdorf, Sundby and Krogh run into trouble, this would open the door for a whole host of racers to get involved in tomorrow's nasty, horrible, wicked climb up Alp Ceramis. But as you can see on the left of your picture there, Sundby, the leader, as he said, establishing his rhythm, staying with the pack, and then interesting to see how he works. But he did indicate that he would be looking for bonus points, which he's done on these distance races to great effect. So I expect him to up the tempo.
I think you're right, I really think so. I just noticed in that pack, how does he do it? Andrew Musgrave from 49th, he's up in the 20s already. So in that first climb, he puts in a huge tactical turn of pace and nips quite far up the field very quickly.
Yeah, Andrew, who wears bib number 49, a much more solid performance yesterday, up into 20th place, getting his first World Cup points since a very good start to the cross-country season in Finland, in Ruka, and he hasn't always had the best of luck. So yesterday hopefully has given him a bit of a personal confidence boost coming into today's race. But there's the focus of Sundby and Ustigov there, 13, just on the left of your picture. That's Andreas Katz, the very promising German, who is being shadowed there by Jonas Baumann of Switzerland in the dark black race suit.
Yeah, David, I'm just thinking back through the history. It's 10th year now of the Tour de Ski, and often on this day, the second last day, we see surprises. The big favourites have spent so much energy to get to this point. They kind of consolidate, they want to save something, and like Tim Sharka winning last year here in this same race was a bit of a surprise. I think we might see something the same again today.
And not easy when you're doing 2.5 kilometre loops, particularly in this first rotation. They're up or going up now, the first of 2 climbs. Now the second climb is the long one, the 700-metre drag. This is exactly the same track that the women took on earlier today, in which Heidi Weng of Norway broke her duck, and many congratulations to her winning her first ever World Cup race and her first Tour de Ski. And I have to say, her interview was a joy, because it was a young lady who was basically speechless.
She was totally speechless. And well, why not? She's tried and had so many seconds. Petter Northug looking much better today, I think. David slipped a little coming over this rise, taking it wide. And Jontrud Sundby, he's attacking this, clearly wanting to pick up more bonus seconds at 3.5. Still a way to go.
Yeah, just as we see the men in the early stages here, a little bit of reaction from the leading athletes in the women's race. Heidi Weng, I cannot believe it. That was the coherent bit. So crazy, hard to describe. I followed Erzberg's track in the last uphill. My legs were stiff in the downhills, but I was just focusing on the finish. Erzberg, who finished as the runner-up, she said, I'm really happy for Heidi to win her first World Cup. It was a little bit difficult with my skis today, but I'm really proud to have made the podium on every one of the 7 Tour de Ski stages so far. And I could never have believed that I'd be going into the last stage with almost 40 seconds advantage. And Theresa Johaug, looking to take over the Tour de Ski title from the absent Marit Bjørgen. A podium, she said, is good. Heidi and Ingvild were better than me. It will be very tough tomorrow. I know that Ingvild can be fast on the climbs too. I have good memories about this hill, but I have to have a good day tomorrow. So those are the thoughts of the women from earlier in the day, and now back to the men's race. And you can see really good grouping here.
Well, look at Ledkov coming through in the middle there, David. He's such a brutal, all-out athlete, and he likes these steep, hard. Give him the hardest course possible, and he floats further up to the front. Northug comfortable in about 15th at the moment, or is he comfortable?
Yeah, Ledkov lying in, a former winner, we should remind you, of the Tour de Ski. Beat Petter Northug, who's never won this most prestigious title, and is not a great favourite of the final hill climb. And they're also tucking in there Francesco De Fabiani, lying in 11th place in the Tour de Ski. Little bobble on the hat, dark sort of blue race suit, and the under 23 Helvetica bib there. Classic is his absolute joy, and he's well up there in the first half dozen.
David, the sprint practically, or the pace is picking up already. It's 1 kilometre to these bonus seconds, and without a doubt, the big names trying to position themselves at the front.
Yeah, Sundby, Fincro, Ustigov, and then you can see Dobler, Turnseth, Katz, and Ledkov, and Magnificat, who was on the podium yesterday, and Northug down in 11th place. But we're only talking at this stage about 4 or 5 seconds. But what Sundby wants to do is to build on that advantage, almost 1 minute 30. So it gives him a little bit more of a cushion for tomorrow. So through and over 4 kilometres, you can see just over 11 kilometres to go. And Finn Krog on the far side, Sundby on the right of your screen. And just behind Krog on the left of your screen is Turnseth of Norway. De Fabiani also in there, the Italian in the darker suit, in just about 3rd place at the moment, with Ustigov still there. And the pace has been remorseless, Mike.
It's a brutal pace. It's hard to believe they're sustaining this coming up to 5 kilometres. Now, Petter Northug suffering there on the climb. He was staying on the easier parts. He's staying with them, but losing a little on the climb.
Polteranen in the top 10, and just, I think, sort of steadily trying to work his way into this. I think he's accepted the fact as they come through to complete 5 kilometres, so that's 2 of the rotations. They've got 4 more to go, and there is, of course, another bonus sprint, Mike, and that comes at 8.5 kilometres. Well, so again, another 15 seconds for the first to cross the line there, and Sundby, but he looks all right to me now.
He's looking absolutely fine now. The pace, well, around that bend, he's backed off a little, allowing the whole, 25, 26 to sort of get into this lead group.
Yeah, Colonia moving up as well. But I think the interesting thing also about this discipline is to keep an eye on the corners here. There's been a lot of chatter, hasn't there, through the Tour de Ski about 1 or 2 taking liberties and perhaps skating a little bit too much round some of the corners.
Well, that's right. I think we've got 5 or 6 in the field who have been issued yellow card warnings if they break the rules again. That is in classic. The skis stay in the track, but yes, on corners you have to step outside. If you're perceived to be skating too far round a corner or into the corner, it is an advantage, and FIS judges on the corner, jury I should say, will issue a further warning, and then there is a potential to disqualify as well. It's perceived that the athletes are pushing their luck a little far, and it needs to be sorted out.
So here you can see that they've grouped up again. The front 4 have only got perhaps 5 metres on quite a big chasing pack here as they go out on the easier of the 2 climbs. But again, worth remembering, we're just about under 1,000 metres here, so the oxygen's just that little bit thinner.
It is, it very much is. In Davos, they were 17% less oxygen. I think it's about 14% here. Colonia, you're right, David. He's sensible pacing, didn't go with that crazy burst early on, and he's just level paced it back into the crowd. It's not this time, but the next lap around where the pace will go crazy again prior to this, because we're only 300 metres from the bonus seconds.
But then, of course, at 8.5 kilometres, we're only sort of halfway, aren't we? So so that's what Colonia and Poltaranin are thinking about. They're thinking about the longer, because they can say, well, okay, I might get the odd point or two, but if I can come through and win this race by 15, 20, 30 seconds or something like that, that's a whole different ball game.
Do you know, the coaches last night, you're right, there's two different strategies there. Yes, kill yourself early on at 3.5 up to 8.5 in a 15-kilometer race. It's next time that they'll be sprinting up here. And that pace change does a lot of damage when you're fatigued already. A lot of the lads further back are going for the level pacing to try and take the win.
Well, there's Colonia right in the mix of it. And bib 5, that's having a little slip there. Poltaranin, he's put himself in the race as we have 9, just under 10 kilometers to go. And Sunby having a little look around. Perhaps he wants somebody else to do a bit of work.
That's interesting, for him to back it off. They're all being dictated. They all look to what Sunby's doing. Oh, if he's slowing down, I'll slow down. So they really are being dominated by his strategy.
Well, it was interesting in his pre-race interview where he was talking about being in the pack, but up for the sprints. I think he's very conscious of the fact that he wants to win this, but he wants to win this as easily as possible. I think what he's got in his mind is the fact that, you know, get this wrong and you could really physically damage yourself and blow the chances of defending your title.
Big time, and I can't see Petter Northug in the sharp end, just try and get a reading where he is. He's also got to be careful, Sunby, that he doesn't burn out. He absolutely did. He stayed with some of the early pace on the 15-kilometer in Oberstdorf on Wednesday, but then he really faded in the final 3 kilometers, just seeping so many seconds. And I think he's being aware of that now, that he has to back it off, or he may well have the same collapse as we saw on Wednesday.
There's Colonia, who certainly has been steadily improving throughout the Tour de Ski. And what was interesting was I was talking to one or two Swiss colleagues about a week or so ago, and Dario was actually quite annoyed that Swiss newspapers, Blick I think was one of them, they were really having a bit of a go at his poor early season form. But I think they sometimes forget that, you know, this is a different season here. Next year, the Nordic skis, 2 years on, it's the Olympics. So, Sunby, he'll be thinking, and he will have thought, actually, before today, as to where to make a break, if that's what he's got in his mind. But I think there are a few out there. Colonia will be one of them. Poltaranin will be another. Ustigoff definitely would be thinking about keeping tabs on him.
Yeah, you need to, whether Sunby's just thinking, right, he picked up, I think it was 12 seconds, second place last sprint. Maybe he just wants to get a few seconds in the bank and then slow down, just try and back off a little in the final 4 kilometers.
There's Northug going through, but now that, you know, they're coming up this longer climb, and this is going to be important now.
Well, there's the caption, Northug 9.3 behind Usti, so Sunby's up front, Ustigov in the middle of the picture, so the 2 other big names in the top 3 are at the sharp end. Northug just a little further down the hill.
Yeah, Poltaranin, Colonia, and also Turnstedt on the left of your picture, wearing 6 there. Perhaps not the quickest route there. The shortest distance between 2 points is when it can be a straight line. But Sunby pushing on now, and here's the determination. You see Fabiani, the under-23 classic specialist, Francesco in second place and getting a lot of support from the home fans here. This is a valley in which there is huge support for cross-country skiing, and he's right on the ski tails there of Sunby. Now that could give a little bit of hope to those behind, but it's noticeable in the last 120 seconds of this race, Sunby has injected even more pace as they come through to finish the 7.5 kilometers.
Well, that's right, and the sprint, the next big pot of bonus seconds just in 1 kilometer's time, and that's where he's been brutal again. Sunby better be careful, he's skating a long way around that corner. A little advantage there, so he's really beginning to attack now, 1 kilometer out for his next batch of bonus seconds.
14 just stepping out of the track there, Durhard for Norway, of course, and 13 just going through. That's Andreas Katz. Started brightly, but has dropped back through the field. Likewise, 27, that was Noah Hoffman of the United States. And you can see that there's a gap here, and they need to close this up now. But I don't sense too much panic behind at the moment.
I don't think they can. They're not panicking. I'm not sure they can. They've done the survey. How's my body feeling? And clearly, this pace is horrific, incredible.
But look at Colonia. Colonia is actually breathing on the neck of Sundby. And there you got Fabiani. So Colonia, well, if he's feeling strong, this is an interesting move by him. Remember that Colonia was the world champion in this valley in 2013 in the skiathlon.
And he's such a class act as Colonia. I mean, I totally support him. I've always thought he's one of the best skiers of all time. And, you know, his journey on the Tour de Ski in 2008, he didn't do it. Then he was 30th, then first, then third, then first, then first. A second, he didn't do the Olympic year, and then 5th last year. So he's dropped off a little, but you can see his form today. It's magic again.
Yeah, and I do think that Colonia, in his planning, you know, even though he's not that old, is actually thinking, well, this season I'm going to manage it in a certain way. I'm going to have to build up to the Nordic Ski World Championships. Then I'm going to have to qualify the next year for the Olympic Games. And, you know, you get to a certain point where these much more experienced athletes who've been out on the circuit for a decade, they have to manage their way. They have to have a period where they can come down a little bit.
Your body needs that, absolutely. And often, like when Dario had that terrible ankle injury, it was enforced change of scenery. And then what, after a lot of rehab and just one World Cup prior to the Olympics, he went on to take his medals, his gold medals. Here's the sprint coming up now.
Of course, Dario, and there's the man on the left there, Sundby on the right of the screen, De Fabiani right behind. They've broken away. Polteranen moving up into 4th place, the pre-race favourite at 3-1, Sundby at 7-2, Northug at 8-1, Colonia 8-1, Finn Hågen Krogh at 11-1. Those were the leading odds, and well, you've got to say that Sundby, he's really focused on getting those bonus points. And just going through there, Didrik Turnseth, and 4, that's Finn Krogh, who's dropped away quite worryingly. And 3 there, also Ustigov. He's just not been able to live with the sort of pace that Sundby's been putting in.
But look who's keeping an eye on Ustigov. It's Northug just behind Ustigov. They're both absolutely on the limit to try and stay with this incredible Sundby pace.
But look at Polteranen, he's moved into 4th place, and like Colonia, they've been much more steady about what they've been doing. And so they've done it probably with a little more economy.
And that has to be, in the long run, healthy, the economical way forward. That's big. Iversen up the front, taking his first ever win in the Tour.
Yeah, so these 3 now.
In the chasing group, I should say.
Yeah. Now this is interesting. You see these front 3 here, they haven't got so much of a margin of advantage, and Polteranen will be joining them pretty shortly. You can see there, what's that, Mike? 4 meters, something like that, between those 3, and Polteranen looking rather nice, very well balanced, and Fabiani having to just come out of the track for a mini herringbone.
Wax beginning to fade. Some I've noticed is some of the Russians, and that's an Ustigov factor as well. The Russian skis have not been going well. He had to go into the herringbone run. 16 as well. Belov skis not great.
So all to play for. This race is still to unfold. Well, this is fascinating. Into herringbone goes Dario Colonia. On the right of your screen, Sundby. Then the Italian De Fabiani, but also Polteranen on the left of the screen following Dario Colonia, and not too far off also Gaillard of France wearing bib number 25. This is Colonia, and how lucky is that?
He's had bad experiences. Remember the 50-kilometer world champs here, David, when he was up front with the incredible Ulsen for they were 10 kilometers on their own together, and then he fell like that on a corner. Cost him, I think, the gold medal that day.
So coming into the stadium, to complete 10 kilometers, so 2 rotations, but still a really good group. And there's Sundby just letting Colonia know that he's right behind him. A little twist on the ski pole there. And 6 looking pretty good there. That is Didrik Turnstedt. We haven't really talked about Didrik, but he's not having a bad tour by any means. 2 minutes 16. He's just behind Polteranen in the chronometry of the Tour de Ski.
Yeah, outstanding. I'll tell you who's pacing so sensibly. He hasn't been in any of the panic. Alex Harvey, I think he's just... There he is, yeah, 15. He started so slow in the first 2 kilometers. He wasn't there at all, but just paced it nicely.
Maurice Magnificat, who was on the podium in 3rd place, leading the second pack there for France. Well, so up front.
Yes, Sundby up front. You're very right about Colonia today. He's on fire. My man Heikkinen, the 3 Finns, their skis, Juha Järvi, Hakola, Heikkinen, their skis are they're not getting much grip. They're slipping their way around this track.
And I'm really surprised about that, given the fact that actually Palmakoski in the women's race, and also to a certain extent Kerttu Niskanen, actually had decent races. And now look at this, Sundby now turning the screw. This is a big decision moment, and he's deciding to really step this up the hill. Remember, this is a 1,500-meter climb.
Yeah, I think he's just analysed the hurt that he's given to the rest of the world, and then those first 8.5 to pick up the bonus seconds, he's realised that he can maybe live with this pace, but he's doing an awful lot of damage to the rest of the field. So he wants to run with the advantage.
And into 2nd place there goes Didrik Turnstedt. Turnstedt, who lies 7th in the overall World Cup rankings, and in the 2 classic races that we've had in the men's competition, it's worth emphasizing that he was on the podium in race 11 of the season. That was the 30-kilometer mass start classic, and in 5th place in race 14, Oberstdorf 15-kilometer mass start. So he's right up there in the 4 of the action. And 15, Alex Harvey, just on the end of that little group there, just behind Finn Krogh, who might just be recovering. But it's all about Sundby now. He's made a move, he's made a statement here, and look at that gap that he's opened up here. The issue for him is that he now has to sustain this, and the Norwegians really coming to the fore.
Do you know what? He's just about securing the overall Tour victory today, you know, and he's won the last 2 Tour de Skis.
Polteranen moving forward, and Fabiani there, but you can see the damage that's been done, and the camera really foreshortening the angle. Just looking for Colonia at the moment. Where's he disappeared to? Because he has actually disappeared.
He's completely disappeared. He was doing just fine. I'll just check what's happened if I can.
There he is. He's double poling. He's right at the back of this pack, and he's obviously run into trouble.
He's got no grip, David. He's just the wax, this sticky wax has just come off the base of his skis, and he's having to use entirely arm power.
Yeah, and Ledkov just going past him there. That's really
This
sad.
is a 26% climb, and he's double poling his way up there. That is the worst possible news for the Swiss team and Dario.
Yeah,
and he cannot change those skis.
No, he can't, and that'll be his servicemen also dropping their heads there with disappointment, because you see he's lost complete contact with the pack, and there's sadly no way back for him. There's Nicholas De Haug in front there, 14, and Sundby on the right there. And this is interesting with De Haug, because he's taken on Sundby.
He certainly is. He's fearless, a big, tall figure. And they're just trying to break and make this advantage, keep the momentum going at 11.5 kilometers.
Yeah, and there's Polteranen in 3rd place. Still a danger, I think, and Jean-Marc Gaillard, left of your picture of France, trying to come through, overtaking Didrik Turnstedt. And Gaillard, the further they go, he's like Ledkov. He'll take the tough distance, and he really is striding up here. Looks to have plenty of energy.
There's Ustygov struggling. His wax not working either. And Northug 2 places behind.
And oh dear, Dario Cologna, it looks so promising, but he must be distraught with this.
David, at 10 kilometres, he was in second place, half a second behind. And now at 11.5, he's 47 seconds behind. Never have I seen such a turnaround, but that's what happens when you can't get grip wax through your skis.
Well, it's what we said when, you remember, I was asking you, could this be a tricky day for waxing? And the answer in his case is, unfortunately, it's turned out that way, and they haven't got it right.
They haven't, and I noticed at the start of the race, maybe 40% were on clister and the rest were on waxless skis, and it has been a difficult day to make the right choice. But the Norwegians, with the massive backup team they have, more often than not get the right wax and don't have bad wax days.
So De Haug wearing 14 there, being chased by Sundby, then Polterainen, who's got a tantalising gap to try and close. And as we now have not much more than 3,500, perhaps a little less than that, 3,500 metres to go.
That's it, just down to the stadium. This is the only recovery part in the whole race where they can get the breath back before the brutal assault on the 2.5 kilometres for the final time.
Well, this is a great piece of racing by De Haug. He's taken on his Norwegian teammate. Good ski still running well there for Sundby. You could see that. They'd closed up very easily there, chasing the 28-year-old Norwegian from Trondheim, who started the season very brightly. You might remember in the big pursuit race in Lillehammer, he was the runner-up there. And he also won the 15K Classic in Ruka as well. So he's had a good start to the season, but Sundby now just trying to remind him who is the master, who is the pupil.
Well, that was interesting. De Haug getting some separation up the climb, and then Sundby, as always, carrying massive momentum over the top of any hill. And then De Haug caught him back a little, but last lap, 2.5 to go.
7 seconds for Polterainen to find it. Interesting, De Haug, you might remember, in the race in Oberstdorf, Mike, he was actually in 4th place. So very close to the podium.
He was. He got it wrong. He was 1/10 off the podium, and he got his body shape and weight all wrong. He was leaning left instead of leaning forward to the line. Cost him a podium.
And of course, that was the race won by Polterainen.
That's right, Polterainen. On that day, Heikkinen, just 3 days ago, Heikkinen was 7th. Today, Heikkinen is nowhere. The same race, 3 days later. Don't lose form, so it did see them struggling, the Finns, not at the races whatsoever. And I think very sad. 1 lap ago, Cologna in 2nd place, now nearly a minute off the pace. Lost the wax on the base of his skis.
Yeah, so just to give you a quick rundown there, Sundby and De Haug virtually together, and then you've got Polterainen, then Hans Christer Holland, who we haven't given a word about, but Norway running well. He's wearing bib 10, Finn Krogh 4, then Turnstedt. You've actually got 5 Norwegians in the top 6, and only Polterainen are mixing it amongst them. After that, you've got the Fabiani of Italy. Iversen, the out-and-out sprinter, gives Norway yet another in the top 10. Then Jean-Marc Geyer, then Alex Harvey completing the top 10. And this is real Norwegian domination, and Polterainen trying to close the gap, but at the moment that 7 seconds is not being closed at all. So it's a cat and mouse competition now between these two Norwegians, so it would seem.
Just checking Dario Cologna's time. He's 25th position. He's 1 minute 12 behind now. I'm thinking of another scenario, David, with Cologna. Remember, we saw him nearly fall on the fastest of left-hand bends. I'm wondering if that old injury in his right ankle has been re-injured, and is that why he's just double poling? Wax, I think, is the stronger scenario than his ankle, but it could be something to do with that old injury.
Through the stadium, by the way, Andrew Musgrave in 38th place, a minute and 49 behind the leaders. Polteranen still looking strong, still looking focused here.
He's a good finisher, David. He really has a sting in his tail at the end of a race. And that's why the Norwegian duo at the front, they know that. They're trying to break him, not let him make contact again.
Now Sundby being pushed to the limit by his own teammate, and now the revival here of Finn Krohg, who had a bad patch in the middle of the race, but now coming through to try and make 4th place wearing bib number 4 and 15 on the right of your picture there, very close to the action. Alex Harvey of Canada also trying to get into the mix. His form has sort of tailed off in the last couple of stages, but trying to revive.
Yeah, a lot of these lads slipping away up that hill. So frustrating when you don't have any grip on those skis. You need it for these brutal climbs. Petter Northug, as usual, he's only got focus on his main rival for 2nd place in the Tour de Ski. Ustigov just ahead of him.
Yeah, Shirota in that group as well, and Dirhag has a little look around there to see what's happening with Polteranen, and Sundby just making this so tough, and that is so hard for Polteranen, because again it looks as if it's possible for Polteranen, but the camera angle with 1,000 meters, well, something's going to have to happen to the front two to let him get at them, so to speak.
He's an out-and-out specialist. He's coming out of the tracks to try and get more grip. Skis are awful at the moment.
So we're in the last 1,000 meters of this 15-kilometer mass start classic, and it is the Tour leader Martin Jonsrud Sundby from his Norwegian teammate Niklas Dirhag, who lead the way, and the Norwegians absolutely massing at the moment in the last kilometer, and this looks as if it's going to be a race well done by Sundby to enhance his advantage to retain his title when it comes to the big hill climb. And look at what's happening now as they drop down towards the stadium. Dirhag, who was the man who's been aggravating Sundby in 2nd place, but Sundby has just moved on and moved away, and we saw when they came through the stadium the last time that Sundby's skis were working really well, and Polteranen in 3rd place. Dirhag trying to close up again.
Sundby looking over his shoulder, and Dirhag, I think him looking over his shoulders, that's a bad sign that he's given up the fight for first.
Well, he almost made a mistake there, because he could have tripped himself so easily when he was looking around, and you're right, psychologically he's thinking, I ain't going to catch this guy. Look at the tempo, look at the stride, look how the skis, when they come off the snow, it's just by millimeters. The contact is beautifully maintained.
It's another superhuman performance from Sundby. He had a terrible day last outing 3 days ago in this competition. The exact same 15-kilometer mass start. He was 56 seconds off the pace, and now he's refound his energies.
Alex Harvey I've got in the top 6. He's moved up a little bit, but Sundby's going to be really delighted, because remember those bonus points that he's going to get to add to his advantage from the 2 sprints.
Oh, Sundby's going to be starting tomorrow some over 2 minutes ahead now. It's a cruise for him tomorrow on the final day.
Well, it's never done until it's done, but here you can see the last 50 meters here, and Sundby for Norway, Dirhag for Norway, Polteranen for Kazakhstan, and he is triumphant, because that's mission accomplished, surely. Dirhag very good on the podium there, and Polteranen a decent race, perhaps. It's difficult to assess Polteranen. Did he give away too much too early? I don't know. I think he ran a race which he thought he could really live with Sundby. But here comes Fabiani leading the charge for Italy. He's in 4th place, the classic specialist. And the leader of the under-23 rankings coming home. Harvey in there as well for Canada, just to break up the Norwegian party just a little anyway. And 15 kilometers accomplished, and as they cross the line, Sundby and Deerhaag for Norway, Polteranen for Kazakhstan, De Fabiani for Italy, Finn Krogh in 4th place, Iversen, what a terrific race from the sprinter to finish 6th, and then Alex Harvey in 7th, Turnseth 9th, Martin Jaks for the Czech Republic in the top 10, and Krista Holland is in 10th place. So 1 or 2 to come home, and then we'll give you the full results, and of course the Tour de Ski standings, the mathematics together with the bonus points for the 2 sprints, and of course remember Sundby's just picked up another 15 seconds because he crossed the line in 1st place, so you know that really does enhance. And here you have the final results, and you can see there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Norwegians in the top 10, but good to see Polteranen, De Fabiani, that's another excellent classic race by the developing Italian. Alex Harvey, encouraged to see him finishing in the top 10. Marc Gaillard there. Gaillard looked at one point as if he was really going to be a player, but unfortunately faded out. Ustigov started strongly but couldn't live with the pace, and neither could Northug. 51 seconds. Remember, he was lying in 2nd place in the Tour, closest to Sundby, but I think little chance of challenging Sundby up that big hill tomorrow, Mike.
Well, but my random calculation, Sundby's going to be starting close to 2:30 ahead of anybody tomorrow, and a huge advantage.
There's Andrew Musgrave in 35th place, and again it's been a better 48 hours for him, and he'll take a little bit, and you know he's actually finished ahead of Cologne, but I wouldn't read too much into that because it was evident that Cologne, once he got to the downhill, was just going to coast in and not really do any damage to himself because the chance has gone. And you know when you look at it, you know Cologne was in 7th place, 2 minutes and 49 off the pace, and not saying that he would have had a big advance today, but you know at 10 kilometers he looked good for the podium.
No, I was totally with you on that. He looked so good, and then a massive drop off in the last 5.
So Val di Fiemme, 1 more night's sleep, but there it is, and that's the telltale story. 2:51, that's enormous over Petter Northug and Polteranen.
David, 10 years of Tour de Ski, that's the biggest margin going into the final day of any leader, men or women. We saw Marit Bjørgen with a huge lead last year, but that's the biggest.
So barring Sundby falling off the mountain, the title has to be his.
Well, yes. Yes.
I mean, it's got to be something like that, hasn't it? I mean,
2:51 is, normally you're getting all 60 athletes within that time frame. Yes, something really would have to go wrong. So he's got a nice run out tomorrow. Could fly the Norwegian flag all the way up that hill.
Yeah, NordicSkiTV@gmail.com is our email address for your thoughts and questions. Hope you're enjoying the Tour de Ski. 1 more day to go. And this is how it all began. Polteranen with a steady start, and ultimately moving himself up into 3rd place, working his way through the field in an economic way, but ultimately the best part of 10 seconds off the lead. Sundby with great purpose, aggravated, annoyed by Nicolas Deerhaag for quite a long way, but when it came to the drop into the stadium, it was Sundby who took it away for the final 15 seconds of bonus. And you can see the enormous power generated at the start there. Skis actually coming off the snow, and this is a remarkable sequence of victories, because remember that this man started the Tour de Ski in Lenzerheide with a 4th place in the sprint. Then he won the 30-kilometer race. He won the 10-kilometer pursuit freestyle, and now he's come back to winning ways. Here he is.
Tour, but every stage counts.
Every stage counts for sure, and I really want a revenge for that that happened in Oberstdorf on the same distance, classic 15K, and I was like a minute behind. I was so incredible mad after that race, and I want to have a revenge, and I got it today.
Yeah, obviously to get the win you can't hold back, but you know you have a big climb tomorrow, so you just take each day as it comes?
Each day. I don't think about tomorrow. Yesterday I didn't think about today, and hopefully tomorrow I will not think about this tour for another year.
All right, congrats. Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
A little apology from our side for Mr. Sunby's language there, but you can see job done, and done in a masterful way. He had a plan and he executed it. Mike, almost time for us to go. Final thoughts?
Yeah, just how good this man is. He has one bad day and he punishes himself to put it right again. He doesn't like failure.
So thank you for watching and being with us. Tomorrow, the final stage of the Tour de Ski. It might look as if it's all over, but it's never quite as straightforward as that. From Mike Dixon, myself, David Goldstrom, enjoy the rest of your day. For the moment, bye-bye from Val di Fiemme in Italy.